So we sort of end up with these two groups of fans who want different things. We have the fans who want the original sort of comic, the original cartoon style, whimsical, hopeful, innocent, sort of optimistic sort of cartoon style, Superman. Then we have these people who want this mature, darker Superman that's sort of in our realistic, gritty world, dealing with the things that we don't want to deal with. And he was saying how that's wrong, and I'm like, I for the most part agree with him. If you want the comics and the cartoon series to grow up and be dark and cynical like you as an adult so you can watch them, that's wrong, because they're made for kids and that's what's supposed to introduce them to kids. But when it comes to the movies were, even the Christopher Reeve movies, were done more for adults that children could enjoy. They were simple enough that children could enjoy them, but they were adult enough that adults could enjoy them. There was a middle ground that they found there. So I do think adult fans and adults they're justified in expecting the films to be a bit more adult and a bit more representative of their fan group and their audience and their age and that. Whereas, expecting Superman, including the comics and the cartoons, to change is wrong. So I kind of agree with him. I found it fascinating to sort of finally have this sort of articulate and realise what sort of happened with the cartoons and with Superman, and where we're sort of at now, where we have these dark, cynical, gritty, realistic versions of all these characters that don't work and no one really likes, but yet people want them because they can't sort of go back to the cartoons, but they want that experience that they had when they were a kid, but they can't have it because they're not a kid anymore. And then they stop kids from having it, who then we don't have the next generation falling in love with these characters because they're dark and cynical and like their parents, basically. So yeah, I sort of had that epiphany and realised that, yeah, he's sort of got a point, but we do need to find a middle ground with movies, because they're supposed to be for everyone, kids, adults, non-fans, fans, whereas the cartoons are for kids, the comics are for kids, and also comic, lovers and people who've been following it for years and all that. So I got his point, and it's one of the few times I thought these guys had a point that I agreed with. It was just that little bit off, because it does change with the movies versus the TV series and the comics and cartoons and stuff like that. So I just wanted to say that. I want to talk about that for a minute because I thought it was really interesting. And I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of Phil's reaction to Superman, because I'm finding it interesting. Like, I watched one of Doomcock's videos. I never watched him. He was hopeful for the movie, but still felt that they weren't giving us the Superman that we want. We want it to be hopeful and light. We don't want a lot of what the other fans want, and other people were saying, it's too kiddie and it's got, the dog in it and all this, and it's like they don't like the actual Superman that they grew up with. So there's this clash. I'm like, I don't think they can close this, this gap between the two. I'm not sure they're going to make a film that both audiences can love, kids and comic lovers and purists, and the sort of adult general audience that wants it sort of to be serious and realistic and doesn't actually get it, or is so far removed from it now as an adult that they don't get what they're missing about it. But we'll see. I mean, some people are saying this film doesn't have to be a hit, as long as it doesn't lose money, or it only loses a marginal amount of money. It's got to renew people's faith and interest in the DC universe in general, not actually be a hit in unto itself, and that will be enough to keep the DC universe going. I'm thinking if it doesn't do well, they're done, because studios don't have that sort of insight or patience, or they don't understand building a brand. They just want to invest money and have a return, and that's it. So I think they're seriously underestimating the people funding this versus the people making it, and trying to set up a new universe, even though I think James Gunn is the wrong person to do it, and his idea of superheroes is more like the adult version. He seems to be taking advice from people who get the kid version, so we might get a balance. It could happen. I'm trying to be optimistic. Trying.